New Delhi is a massive city. It's huge. I don't even know how many millions they say live there now, but it's one of the largest in the world. So you'll never run out of people passing you on the street, or there's just always people. No matter what time it is or where you're at, there's people. Um, it's it's interesting that you have kind of the wealthiest people you've ever seen and the poorest people you've ever seen living right next door to each other in the city. You know, these huge houses that are incredible, and next door will be, slums. Um, and so you kind of get to experience all of that blended into one. Um, some of my favorite things about New Delhi, or I guess just as you're walking down the street, you'll see fruit vendors and vegetable stalls and just people everywhere selling popsicles or milk out of a bag, or kind of whatever you'd want. There's people out on the streets, and it's busy, and they're out working and selling, and really whatever you want, you can find it. You'll see cows, herds of cows walking down the middle of the street. Cars and traffic kind of flow around it. You just kind of have to deal with them because they have the right of way, always, too. As far as transportation goes, you'll see a lot of autos or auto rickshaws, or I guess some people call them tuk-tuks. But they're little three-wheeled vehicles. The driver sits up front, and in the back there's a bench that sits, three people comfortably, depending on how big you are. They weren't really built for Americans. So being 6'2", I don't fit real well in them, but you can manage. You'll see a lot of them. They're kind of the main mode of transportation. They're the cheap taxis in India. There's also taxis and buses and even pedal rickshaws, which is similar to an auto rickshaw but without an engine, and the person has a bicycle that he pedals to pull you along. So there's always that there. For work, because it's the capital of India, there's a huge variety, but you'll find a lot of people that work at different call centers, or a lot of different capacities like that, where they're well-educated people who do a lot of stuff like that, working with the U.S. or with the U.K. At a call center. Yeah, there's a lot of old places in Delhi. There's lots of old forts. There's lots of different monuments and ruins that you can visit. There's really no end. I don't think I got to see half of them in the time I was there. But you'll see all those. As an American or as a foreigner, you have to go in expecting that you'll pay a little more. They do charge foreigner tax, but it's usually worth it to go in and see some of these places still. In particular, you have like Red Fort is a very famous one that was basically the capital of the city while the British ruled it. There's Qutb Minar, which is the world's tallest, I think they call it brick, I don't even know the word for it. It's a massive tower. It's huge and it's beautiful. There's lots of different places like that. Lots of different architectural just beauties and wonders. The houses are all pretty much made from concrete. The higher end houses all the way down to the slums, it's all going to be concrete. A lot of the nicer houses, the housing complex, the floors are all going to be marble or polished cement. So no carpets. Don't expect to see any carpets. As far as furniture goes, the most important piece of furniture, especially in the poorer homes, is going to be the bed. The bed it's where you sleep, it's where you sit, it's where you eat. It's when we teach lessons, the whole family would be sitting around in a circle on the bed, and it's kind of the central focus of the home, rather than being tucked away in a bedroom. Of course, in the higher end houses, it's normal. It's like you'd expect here. it's nice, yeah. And in the winters, it gets cold. It can be chilly. If there's a breeze, then it's pretty brisk. Or riding in an open air auto, you'll get pretty cold just with the wind chill. But normally walking on the streets, a short sleeve shirt will do just fine. I don't think it drops much below 50 degrees, to be honest. In the summer, however, it gets very, very, very hot. It's not normal, but it happens pretty regularly. They'll jump all the way up to 115, 120 degrees Fahrenheit, or 50 degrees Celsius, where it'll just be blazing hot. And so you'll do whatever you can to stay cool. You'll worry about shade, and the houses, they'll have a lot of ceiling fans, a lot of AC units. But as far as weather goes, you have a really long summer. It starts in about March, and it finishes sometime between September, October-ish, where it's going to be really hot. And during a part of that, you'll have monsoon season with some intense tropical rains and all of that coming through, where it'll cool off a bit. In Delhi in particular, in the winters, the pollution gets pretty bad. I don't know what else to say about that, but it gets pretty bad in the winters with the pollution. Yeah, so there'll be lots of smaller markets, and there'll also be some huge shopping malls too that you'll find that kind of blow our shopping malls out of the water, just kind of pale in comparison to these really huge shopping malls that they have there. And it's pretty much the same as ours, just bigger and just as nice. But then you also have the smaller markets with lots of small shops that are run by individuals, and all your food, all your fresh vegetables all year round, they'll have all that. As far as the schedule goes, a lot of people, it's kind of a later schedule. The day starts later and it ends a lot later. To kind of give you an idea of that, the average dinner time is probably around 9 o'clock in the evening. 10, 11 is normal to be having dinner really late. And that's kind of just a normal thing with most families. So the day kind of starts off later in the day and ends really late as well, with families coming together and then cooking and talking and kind of spending the whole evening just kind of relaxed at home with each other, spending a lot of time cooking and eating and enjoying their meal. It's kind of the whole focus once work and school's done. The schools in India are intensely competitive, a lot more than you'd ever see here. A lot of the kids, you don't see them much because they're away to school early in the morning, and then they maybe come home for an hour or two, and then they're back to what they call tuition, which is kind of like a tuition, but it's basically a second class they go back to tutor them in all their classes that they had earlier that day. And it's not mandatory, but it's the vast majority of all students will go to it, just to keep up or to get ahead of their fellow students, because it's very competitive. So lots of schoolwork for kids there.